exciting. This is great. This is the second one of these that we've done. The first one was so fabulous that when they offered and agreed to do it again, we jumped at the opportunity. So thank both of you. Just as two things about the library before I introduce you guys. One is that the big news is that we're opening up for browsing on Monday. And we're going to have, it's going to be a little bit limited. Whereas you have to wear a mask, you have to stay socially distanced, even if you've had COVID and been vaccinated. And we're asking you to stay no more than an hour, but you can come in and look for books and sit and read and use the computers and see old friends, as long as you stay separated and so forth. The children's room, because we're refurbishing the children's room and it's going to look fabulous. Where it says there's sort of a jumble. So you have to make an appointment to come in there and with more limited time. Anyway, Justine is one of our wonderful, hardworking trustees. We really appreciate that. They both, she and her husband, Wes, Boucher, have been in the restaurant business for a long time, been chefs, mixologists, restaurateurs, the whole gamut, and we are very fortunate to have them here. We're going to be having the other big piece of news before we start is we're going to have a plant sale at the end of May, on May 22nd and 23rd, Saturday and Sunday. That we always have a book sale in May, but we're not having a book sale this year. We're having a plant sale, and with lots of tomatoes grown by Cynthia Curtis, heirloom tomatoes, and lots of other plants from local gardens. And the Friends of the Library are sponsoring a handicraft bazaar of things that are made by young people in high school up to the age of 20. So they've got some really cool stuff. So come by between 11 and 3 on Saturday. No reservations, just stop by, buy some plants, buy some handicrafts. We've got 2 food trucks coming, so it should be cool, Saturday and Sunday. So anyway, Justine and Wes, thank you very much, and go for it.
Yeah, to add to the plant sale, the library worked really hard to kind of bring back the getting together, the fun, have food, get families involved. So I think it might be a nice way to kind of kick off the library reopening and just kind of get people socializing a little bit again with some safety and, you know, be outdoors. So if you can come, if you're in the area, it's the 22nd. It's on the library's website where you registered for this event. So check it out if you're free. Yeah. So I feel like everybody, almost everybody, maybe was at our last event, but it's a little bit different now. We just moved to Ridgefield. We're a bit more casual this time, mostly because we don't know where a lot of our clothes are. They're in boxes. That's true.
All I wear is white t-shirts anyway.
Yeah.
So
and, but not just that piece of it. We really want this to be more of a cocktail, I guess, party, which means we want it to be interactive. So if you missed, Kathleen said, we're going to keep everybody muted, but you have the ability to unmute yourself. So if you want to share what you're doing, if you have a question that we didn't answer, or maybe if you have a tip that you know that we don't, just unmute yourself, share it, and yeah, that's it. Yeah. So today, last time we focused on whiskey, and today we're focusing on mezcal and tequila. Once we get to that portion, Wes is going to kind of explain a little bit the differences of them, what defines them, what goes into them, why they're different, even though you see them together when you buy them. And it's kind of inspired by Cinco de Mayo. It's inspired by the nice weather, even though it's raining today. And we are going to make a ceviche. So before we kind of get into that, we're going to start with ceviche, because I don't know if anyone has made ceviche. It's a Peruvian dish. Really, like, the main characteristic of it is that it's not cooked, but it is
traditional.
Right. It is cured, which means that it kind of decomposes while you marinate it in some citrus juices, which in turn cooks it. So that takes about 15 to 20 minutes. If you are cooking with us, on the ingredient list, we gave some options to do a snapper or a whitefish, as well as some shrimp. We have some snapper and some shrimp, so we're gonna do it together. We're doing both, but the difference is that we're gonna add more citrus to the shrimp because the shrimp needs a little bit more time and citrus to kind of break it down. So, oh, my blue cutting board. Okay, so first we'll start with the ceviche. And so again, we're gonna get this cut, get it marinated, get it back in the refrigerator, and then Wes will do his thing. So I am going to, we're gonna start with one fillet. Now, typically a portion, and again, this is no cook. Last time, if you joined us, we did a salad. Whenever we're hosting cocktail parties, I like to have recipes that I don't gotta be in the kitchen with. I don't have to be at a stove. You know, it doesn't take me away from my guests. So I like to do recipes that I can either make in advance or kind of make in a bowl and stick in the refrigerator. And this is kind of the hybrid of that, where you can make some of the components ahead of time. I'll circle back when we put it together. You can make a salsa ahead of time. But if you're doing, you know, a sit down dinner cocktail party and you want to elevate it a little bit, this is kind of a fun thing for that. And I would say we have one fish here, 2 fillets. The red snapper was about 1.5 pounds. With this, you'll get about 6 portions. I would say rule of thumb is about 3 to 4 ounces per portion for an appetizer, per person. Yeah. Ceviche in Peru is supposed to be an appetizer, but as it kind of traveled through some Latin countries, it kind of grew into entree sizes, some share plates, kind of like fun, you know, Mexican food's fun. So it changed in its nature. So we'll start with the red snapper. What you're gonna do is you're gonna slice it super thin, and Wes is better at this than me. So I think for this is one thing we heard last time. We wanted to see a little bit how it's done. So I'm going to bring him closer here, okay? So, and we're gonna watch him slice it.
The one thing I like to do is I like to have a wet paper towel just so I can wipe my knife off, because when you're cutting fish, you wanna clean your blade almost every single time. With ceviche, and because it kind of started in Peru and it kind of migrated all the way up to Mexico, you can kind of season this with almost anything, but there's no real hard and fast rule on how to slice it. Like, it doesn't have to be a certain way, with grain, without grain, like you would cut a steak. You just have to cut it into kind of bite-sized pieces to allow the lime juice and coconut water to kind of get in there and cure it so it firms up a bit, so you're not just eating raw fish. Although wild snapper you can eat raw.
Yeah.
So have your fishmonger skin this, bone it, and you're set. You can buy the fillets.
Yes.
Just make sure you're asking your fishmonger or your Whole Foods fish market or wherever you're buying your fish, that ask them when the fish came in. They'll tell you.
Because that's kind of a rule. Like, you see this in a lot of, you know, I guess like cuisines where fresh water and fish is like a huge staple in their diet. And that's because it's fresh. They catch it there all the time, you know, usually that morning, as Wes just said. So it's good to ask kind of what's fresh.
A good rule of thumb is like stay away from fish on Sunday, because there's no boats that come out. So basically you just want kind of bite-sized pieces of fish. Does everybody see that? Does anybody have any questions? Raise your hand.
Raise your hand. Or unmute yourself. I was talking to a friend, and I think we all are over the Zoom etiquette. We all kind of got how to not talk over each other at this point. It's like pre-K all over again.
You have to make sure that you have like all the little pin bones out of it. Pin bones are just basically like bones that are up the side of the fillet that kind of go around the ribs.
And if you buy a fillet at the store instead of a whole fish, all the bones should be out. So, you know, just run your finger through the middle of it. Yeah, just check.
So if you have the fillet here like this, you just want to run up and down the spine to see if you feel any little pins. Yeah. Right?
So Wes is going to cut the shrimp in about the same size. I am going to marinate it in both coconut water and lime juice. So I have this in, you want to do this? We can do it together, yeah. We have this in a shallow flat, because you want it to kind of be a thin layer. You don't want to put it in a bowl. You don't want some pieces to be marinated and cooked more than the others in the lime juice. So I kind of have it in a flat bowl to do so. So what I'm going to marinate it in, and this is more for flavor, The citrus is going to be the ingredient that cures it and breaks it down, so you're not eating, you know, raw fish. It's cooked. But I had a chef that we did this in a restaurant, and we marinated in coconut water. So I'm going to do it in coconut water. I learned something today that I went to go buy the Vita Coco, and then this was next to it, and this was pink. And I was like, what? This is like a watermelon, coconut water. What is happening with this? Actually, coconut water, thanks to the internet, when it's natural and you don't have the, you know, ascorbic acid or citric acid that a lot of times you find in canned products like whole peeled tomatoes, for example. There's no preservatives if you find an all natural coconut water. And what will happen is the color will turn like a pinkish. Do you see that a little bit? So
that's natural.
Yeah, that's natural coloration, not discoloration, I guess, coloration that kind of happens. So it's just something I learned. So if you see it like this and you don't want a flavored, it's actually what it's supposed to be.
Yes, and like another reason why it wouldn't turn pink is if they added something like a sweetener or a little sugar or something like that, and that would kind of keep it stabilized.
Right.
Which is fine, but we're kind of purists. We prefer to have it in its natural state.
And I feel like the craze of coconut water was for the health benefits of hydration and not to have have the little bit of a sweet drink without the sugar. So, I mean, kind of defeating the purpose, right? So, okay, so I'm gonna just cover this with the coconut water. And really ratio-wise, depending on how much you're making, who you're serving, you just wanna cover it. So everything is okay. And I would say a rule, like probably for a whole fish, 2 fillets, about a ½ cup of lime juice. I'm gonna do a little bit more because I have the shrimp happening here too. And I'm gonna pull this snapper beforehand. So I'll just go ahead and marinate it. And you will see the snapper will start to turn white. You'll get that opaque right away because it's starting the curing process. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and then after Wes makes both of his cocktails, we'll kind of assemble it all, and I'll show you the other ingredients that goes into it. Hold on, Wes, throw this in the fridge.
All right, so I had to wash my hands because I had red snapper on them. Nobody wants that. Does anybody have any questions so far? Does anybody want to make a comment? Please unmute yourself.
Mute yourself.
We're going to get started on our cocktails. Does anybody have a chance to do any shopping? And is everybody...
Yeah, is anybody making this with us? No? Maybe? Oh, come on. All right. Well, I know that there's margarita drinkers out there, so hopefully you'll make it soon. Okay.
So we're going to do, first off, my wife's favorite drink, the margarita. Mm-hmm. We're going to make ours with Milagros Select Barrel Añejo. So the difference between tequila and mezcal is basically just kind of government and location. So
like champagne.
And bourbon. And it's more like bourbon and whiskey. So yes, all bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbons. So tequila, all tequilas are mezcals essentially, but not all mezcals are tequilas. Tequilas are basically distilled from a piña, which looks like a pineapple, but it's closer in relation to an onion or a piece of garlic, which us being Italian,
we eat it every day.
Right? From there, they trim the piñas, and for tequila, they steam them. For mezcal, they roast them in kind of clay pots. So you're getting that smokiness, you're getting some residual sugar caramelization too. So mezcals are usually sweeter, smokier. Tequilas are a little bit more, depending on if you buy a Blanco, a Reposado, or a Añejo, you're gonna get different levels of kind of wood characteristics and just more pure agave. One thing, if you're selecting a tequila, is you always want to get 100% blue Weber agave. And that's the regulation that the government kind of regulates that.
Yeah, you kind of have to, like, I don't know if you can see on here, it'll say here 100% de agave. And you gotta, it's just, as he said, it's what it's supposed to be made out of. You know, it might cost a little bit more, but you know, you don't have any of the other fillers, you know,
Yeah.
like a lot of the times
artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners. You know, if it's tequila by regulation, it has to be 51% agave. You want 100% because other than that, they might use some kind of more sugarcane based spirits or something else. You're not getting tequila. And tequila actually, agave in nature is a little bit, has a lower glycemic index. So if you want to like have a little bit less sugar in your alcohol, go tequila. But let's get started. So the salt rim on a tequila margarita is not just for looks or for show. It actually, salt is like a magnifying glass. So it's going to magnify the flavors of your tequila. I like to do a half rim. I'm making one or two.
I would like one.
Okay, so I'm making two. Or I'll just make one. I'll have a Paloma.
Okay.
So when you salt the rim, you want to coat that top of your rim glass with your garnish. Lime wheel, lime wedge, whatever you like. I use wheels because a lime wedge kind of signifies that it needs something more. It needs that squirt of lime in there. So when you're at your local bar, that's, you want to some ice?
Yeah, I'll get the ice.
So we're going to start with salting our rim glass. And don't try to be conservative with the salt. Like, let it sit in there and get a nice rim on. Next, we're going to start with our lime juice. And I like to start with lime juice and do my cocktails. I build them and I do the spirit last. Just in case you add too much lime juice, you add too much sugar, you can just toss that out. You're not tossing out that valuable booze. So 3/4 ounces of lime, a 1/2 ounce of sugar or simple syrup, or you can use agave sweetener.
We're going to use the agave in the second, but
And
it acts. I think our last cocktail party, we spoke about agave and honey being a good replacement or alternative. So it'll work the same, and we'll show you how to do that in the next.
And this is the tequila, you're going to do 2 ounces.
So 2 ounces is kind of the standard pour, right?
A shot and a quarter, ounce and a quarter to 1.5 ounces is more standard, but the normal recipe for margarita is use a 1/2 ounce of Cointreau or triple sec, some orange liqueur, right? Justine and I like it with, we found just a little splash of orange juice.
Yeah.
It gives you that orange flavor, and we just add a little more tequila, so the concentration of the alcohol is still the same. But just because that's what we had.
Yeah, also, you know, like,
so 1/4 ounce of OJ. Fresh squeeze is always the best. I like to use Caracaras.
a lot of times, a lot of these cocktail recipes require a pantry, right? So I don't have Cointreau in my house because, like, when else am I going to drink Cointreau?
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone's on a budget, so I'm not going to go to the store and do that. So we always have orange juice in our house. So one time, Wes, I love margaritas, and I told him to teach me how to make it, and he kind of was telling me the specs of it. And he's like, well, we're going to make it with orange juice. And as he said, it's like, for me, it's cost effective. It has less sugar, and it's fresher, you know? So, I mean, but don't worry about going to the store and buying an orange. We use Tropicana almost all the time. So whatever orange juice you have in your house, go for it.
Yes, and I will say though, it is better.
I mean, it is better with the fresh, but like anything to kind of make it easy, not to have to buy extra, and that's it. So Wes was talking about the salt rim. I like a lot of salt in my margaritas, and I always kind of like didn't. Thank you.
Yeah, it's part of the recipe.
It is part of the recipe.
And it's part of what you're trying to, like the flavor you're trying to accomplish. So think of salt as a magnifying glass. Everything you put salt on is just going to make it taste more like what it's on. Until you put too much salt, and it just tastes like salt.
Hello.
Go ahead, Barbie.
Go ahead.
Push it down front.
Yeah. So
Tequila shot.
Oh,
do it.
lovely.
So I always try to kind of like conserve the salts. Like I'm just putting a little bit of salt on the rim. Why do I have to put a 1/2 cup of salt? And Wes is always like, what are you trying to do? Save, you know, a tablespoon of salt? Don't do that. Like have a layer. I'm sure this is, you guys can figure this out, but like get a layer of salt. Just get some lime juice from your garnish around your glass, dip it in. Don't worry about swirling it and trying to, get the little specks of salt. Just dip out. If you cover your rim with, if you cover your rim with a liquid, the lime, and you just dip it in there, don't conserve. It'll easier. And if you don't like a lot of salt, like Wes said, I do this for my mom. Just half rim with the citrus and put that in there, and you won't have to worry about. Yeah,
I'll show you an example too, because I'm going to do that right now for myself with the second cocktail, which is my favorite tequila or mezcal cocktail, and it's called a Paloma. It's very popular. It is kind of more popular, or just as popular in Mexico as the Margarita. And what it's made out of is tequila, lime juice, agave nectar, and grapefruit juice. Salt rim. I'm going to do half a salt rim, and you can just roll that. Can you guys see what I'm doing?
Let me go a little closer. Do it again.
It's literally just.
So he's literally just half
rolling it and give it a
there
little tap.
There you go.
You can build these right in the glass. I like to shake and strain it because it just incorporates the ingredients. But if you do that, don't go crazy shaking it for like a half hour. It's just going to do water. So just add a couple cubes, especially because you're pouring it over fresh ice. You just want to add a little water. That's another ingredient to the cocktail. So let's get started. This is going to be delicious. So the mezcal I chose is illegal. I know the Embrassers very well. They're good people, so I like to support them.
And remember, the mezcal is the one that has the smokier kind of flavor profiles, which works really well with the Paloma and grapefruit. Yeah,
it's a different agave too. With tequilas, you're using Blue Weber agave, and there's about 270 different varietals of agave. With mezcal, there's about 5 that they use. The main one being an espadín. It's delicious. And let's get started. So I'm going to do 2 ounces of grapefruit. And if you need the measuring tool, I've just done it for 20 years, so I don't. But these are called jiggers. They have half ounce, full ounce, 2 ounce. You can pick these up. I mean, they have them at grocery stores now and liquor stores. So you can grab yourself a couple of those. So we added our
2 ounces of grapefruit.
2 ounces of grapefruit. We're adding about a half ounce of agave.
So about the same amount of sweetener, probably a little bit.
1 to 1.
Yeah.
Sweetener was actually
as the Margarita.
And then 2 ounces of mezcal. And Mom, like about a 4 or 5 count.
So as Wes said, like when you're doing cocktails, you don't want to overshake them. You don't want them to be watery. I found for me as, a beginner of cocktail making, this was a good drink for me to start with without having to worry about it being too watery, over diluting it, not enough ice, too much ice, because you can, after you salt your rims, if you're doing salt, you can put your ice in your glass, and that's going to be most of the ice that you're going to use. And Wes just puts like 2 cubes in the shaker just to give it a little bit.
Chill it down and add a little water.
Like you're going to fill your glass with the Margarita and Paloma. You're filling it with ice all the way.
And one thing about agave nectar that's different than like, let's say honey, is it will break down in your cocktail. It won't be like that kind of, like when honey gets cold, it'll get viscous, it'll get clunky, it'll give you a bad mouthfeel. So you want to use agave or a simple syrup. So this is the Paloma.
You're going to top that with soda water.
And you're going to take that, the beautiful grapefruit color.
You're going to leave a little
add
bit.
Add your garnish. Add a little topper of club soda. And you can cheat. If you don't have grapefruit, so they're not in season, you can't find a good one. You can get like a grapefruit soda.
Yeah.
Like a Pellegrino makes one. There's one called Ting. You could
that's a kind of another good double use in the pantry if you don't, can't find a fresh grapefruit because, they're seasonal. You can always just get a grapefruit soda and then you don't have to buy club. So before we move on, there's kind of two things that I wanted to talk about. We have some jalapenos here. What we're showing you is kind of the standard cocktail recipes that you will find. Wes is going to show you a book. We're going to reference a book today again. They're kind of the standard portions, you know, your 2 ounce pour, your ½ ounce sweetener, your ounce of citrus, you know, your ice. That's kind of the standard for a lot of cocktails, especially these two. But you can use things like herbs. In these cocktails, you find a lot of spice. So jalapenos being one of them. If you want to have a spicier cocktail, there are, he's going to correct me if I'm wrong, two basic ways to achieve that. One is by muddling. We showed you this last time. This is a muddler. So before you put your ingredients, your liquor in here, you're going to put your jalapeno, your habanero, your serrano, like anything you want. And you're going to just kind of like break it down a little bit and release some of, you know, the heat. Yeah, you're going to macerate that. So you're going to, I mean, don't be shy. It's a, yeah. You want to smash it. And then the second thing that I wanted to show you, not just for this purposes, but it was a question that I got last time was, I didn't know you can make your own simple syrup. So simple syrup, I remember as Wes said, it's simple. Syrup means sugar. So what you're going to do is equal amounts water and sugar. You need to heat your water enough so that it melts the sugar. You let that cool, you put it in your pantry, you have simple syrup. You can put the water in the microwave, you can boil it, whatever you want, but it's really just hot enough to melt your sugar, equal parts of both. If you don't want to muddle, you don't have one of these, but you know that I like spicy margaritas. That's just, I don't want a sweet citrusy, I want a spicy. You can, and you do this, you see it sometimes with like more fibrous herbs like rosemary and thyme. You don't see it with the fresh stuff, but with jalapenos, if you're making your simple syrup or other flavor, you know, profiles that you like, you put this in your simple syrup. So you put your water and your sugar together, you let it all melt. At the same time you're putting in for a jalapeno syrup or, you know, whatever, you're putting that in with it and you're letting that come to a boil and then you're letting it cool off and then you strain out your jalapeno and then you have a jalapeno simple syrup. So just another kind of, and because it has sugar, it will stay in your pantry. It has a shelf life forever. So, you know, as long as it's airtight and nothing can get into it, you're good to go. Yeah. I mean, you could literally, yes, and you could literally just put jalapeno slices, sugar, and hot water in a pot and just turn that on the simmer. And as soon as it dissolves, just turn the heat off, let it sit there and steep. And the longer you let it steep, the kind of more concentrated the jalapeno is going to be on there. Yes. And, you know, obviously the seeds are very important if you really want the spice. But then I would definitely strain it out because you don't want to like be biting on seeds. Yeah, you want it, it's just kind of to infuse. You don't want to, you know, get one of those jalapenos that's been sitting in your simple syrup in your drink because then you might be in trouble. So those are two cocktails we made. Yeah. We're going to get started. We probably have about another 5 minutes until the cured fish is ready. Yeah, before I grab the fish, yeah, I'm good. Before I do that, because I made the library reference. Oh. Last time we referenced, what did we reference last time? Meehan's? Yeah, Jim Meehan's book, The Bartender's Manual. It's a newer book. It kind of came out in 2018. And I know the library has a copy, and that they got, and it is on Amazon. Today, we're showing another book that is just kind of part of our cocktail library. And this one is probably one of the first, this was kind of, the author's Dale DeGroff. It's called Master of the Cocktail. This is the book I bought in 2006 when mixology kind of was just starting to become a trend. Dale DeGroff's a pioneer. He worked at the Rainbow Room in New York City, which now, who knows if that's open or not, and it's irrelevant, but it was basically where mixology kind of got its birth. I mean, people started doing crazy things with cocktails, referencing the Savoy cocktail book, adding egg whites to sours, kind of just doing a lot of innovative things. And he was kind of, you know, I said it before, a pioneer in the mixology game.
So this was kind of like my Bible for a long time. And then I started working in cocktail bars, and you know how that works. You kind of learn and grow with doing. But this is a great book. It's completely comprehensive. It has everything from a margarita to a Bloody Mary to an oyster shooter to an old school pink squirrel and grasshopper. So this has a wealth of knowledge in it. It's a great book. And I think it was only like $20-some. So, I've had it for 15 years.
Yeah.
Great cocktail book. He has another one too.
Okay.
Yeah, The Craft of the Cocktail.
So what do we got? Okay, so I'm gonna start making this ceviche. Do you want to go grab me the fish?
Yeah.
Okay, so it should be fine. Again, we marinated in coconut milk, coconut water, excuse me. Actually, does anybody have any questions before
Fresh line, right?
we kind of go on? You can just
Unmute yourself.
unmute. Has anybody ever made ceviche?
What other kind of fish can you put in ceviche?
Yeah. Okay, Cynthia. Kind of in ceviche, it's usually made with the white fish, but so I would say 2 rules, and aside from shrimp, because shrimp works, but again, just let it cure for about 30 minutes. I'm gonna make that separate and it should be okay. And add a little bit more lime juice than you do with a white fish. But the rule is a non-oily white fish. And again, you can ask, we got our fish at Whole Foods. You kind of look for a fish that's fresh, but some things that you look for fresh fish are the scales are kind of bright, the fish is shiny, the eyes don't look cloudy. I'm sure they'll help you, but just some things to kind of look for, because that's really important in ceviche. But again, a white, non-oily fish. Some of your oily fishes are your salmon, sardines, mackerel. Trout can be oily sometimes.
Family, Arcachar, steelhead. You don't want to use any like red flesh or orange flesh. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Flounder, sole.
White fish.
All great. Stay away from tilapia. I don't really like it. I don't think it does much.
Tilapia, you're not.
It's only farm paid. I don't even know if it's actually a wild fish at this point anymore.
Yeah, we're partial to wild fish just because we could pick up on some of that, and we like a little bit. We just prefer wild fish. But really, whatever you wanna do. White, non-oily, but shrimp is an option. Just let your shrimp marinate a little bit longer. So, okay. You want to say something before I start? Oh,
I was going to say, you can see that the fish is already starting to kind of have a little opaqueness to it. It's kind of turning white and it's firming up. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, let me show you guys here. I don't know if you can see it a little bit.
Here, you can see how it's changed from like more like a translucent to now it's kind of like an opaque.
You're seeing some of that white come through. Don't be scared. I'm sure everybody has eaten sushi before. It's cooked more than sushi. You're going to be okay. It's going to be good.
You're fine, especially if you're drinking cocktails with it.
The alcohol will kill everything. Don't worry about it. So, okay, we're going to start with the snapper. Now, another trick. I'm all about the tips, time saver. Don't be rude to your guest. Be a good host, guilt your way through life, all that stuff. So another tip, with this, which is why, again, you can make this really fancy by putting it in a glass and having a cocktail party at your house. Or you can just have it in a platter.
A virtual tour. They're doing a show.
One thing that I like to do, and I like this recipe, is again, in advance. So what I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna go through the ingredients, but all these ingredients that I'm gonna do, I made a salsa in advance. You don't have to kind of cut everything and mix it and then plate it in whatever vessel you're choosing. This is really cool because a ceviche is a fish that is cured. There's a citrus element. Traditionally, you have a sweetness. My sweetness today is going to be mango and papaya. And then you have a spice. My spice is going to be jalapeno. If you want it hotter, I'm going to show you what a habanero looks like. And the additional spice that we're going to have is some hot sauce. But what's really cool about it is this, that you can put all of your additional ingredients together in a jar, stick it in your fridge a couple of days in advance, or buy a store-bought salsa and mix it with your fish, and there you go. That's kind of all you need for a ceviche, because salsa hits on all of those elements of spicy, sweet, acidity, freshness. So that's kind of what makes the dish. Okay, so
yeah, if you need to doctor some of that up by adding a little salt or adding a little more spice, like that's completely
for sure.
legal move. That's a legal move.
So I have
What are we doing first?
I didn't add the avocado to this because that's the only element that might change. But okay, so I put my two fruit sweet elements are a mango and a papaya. Oh, get me the papaya that's open already. So a mango, there were two different mangoes at Whole Foods today. This is kind of your traditional one. And then they have yellow mangoes, which are a little bit thinner, a little bit elongated, like a lot of fruits, you know. This is done when it's soft, you know, the skin is not green, it's red and yellow, and it's kind of firm to the touch like citrus. This is the papaya. The papaya, this is not a ripe papaya. You want your papaya, even if you get a yellow papaya, this, you know, one that you might find, it's always usually next to the mango, you want this to be yellow. This is not ripe. I had a ripe one that I cut to make the salsa. You want the flesh to kind of look like this. And again, you want it to kind of be soft to the touch.
Yeah, so you can buy this a couple days and just let it sit on your counter.
Yeah, just like a melon.
It'll turn yellow and it'll get sweeter. You can tell that this is hard to the touch. It's not like when you press it, you're not getting any kind of pushback.
Yeah, you just want it kind of soft.
It's got to kind of.
It's the same.
Press a little bit.
This is the same principle like an avocado. I did see a tip that your avocado, if you pull out the stem, I pulled out a little bit more, and it's kind of green and soft inside, that's how it's ready. So a lot of times, same thing, it's kind of soft, it goes in a little bit, but if you pull out the stem and it's, you know, you can feel it like that. So, okay, I remember the first time I cut a mango, I was like, why is this mango not cutting the same on all sides? Has anybody ever cut a mango? Oh, alta gracia, you cut it, come on, okay. Okay, we cut a mango. So a mango,
Yes, but
okay. The mango pit is not like around, it's not gonna be the same on all sides when you cut it. I remember the first time I did it, I cut it, I made this ceviche recipe at a Jamaican restaurant, ironically enough. We made a twist, which I incorporated tonight. And I was like, I'm cutting this wrong. Why is one side, there's no mango, and the other side, it's like, it just played with my head. I was a young chef and I thought I was messing it up. So, oh, give me a peeler. I'm gonna peel this first because it'll just be easier. But again, I have it here. I'm gonna have Wes bring the computer here in a second so you can see this weird kind of pit that this has. So I'm gonna start by peeling it. You got it? Okay.
You guys...
Yeah, you're good. That's perfect. Is that okay for you guys? Yeah, thumbs up. All right. So mangoes are super slimy. Listen, I have frozen mangoes in my fridge all the time because they're part of our smoothie kits. Don't buy a frozen fruit for a ceviche. It's not going to taste good. Just as a little tidbit. Okay, so this mango, you will see, it's not round. You got it's kind of, I guess, like an oval. I'm going to cut the bottom just so it stays still while I cut it.
Great hack.
This side, I'm cutting into the pit. My knife doesn't go anymore. It's the side that's flat. I got to kind of turn it a little bit. But this side, yeah, no, this side, sorry. This is the side that kind of, it's only a little bit. You see the difference? It's like a huge piece and then a little guy. The long side, you have to kind of go around.
Yeah, so just angle your knife.
You go straight here, but this long side, you only get a little bit. You got to kind of angle it. It's how the seed grows. You kind of see like these fibers and seed. It goes this way and this way. You don't kind of see it here. I don't know if I'm giving you a good representation, but don't feel weird if you're cutting it straight down and it's not getting cut on all sides. So I have this cut already. I'm going to show you one. What I'm going to do is, let's see. We're just going to cut this
in strips.
In strips first. But the rule of thumb for this one is similar bite size as the fish. You kind of want everything to be of similar sizes. I'll put this right in here. The papaya, I'm gonna do that next, has a bigger pit. It's similar.
Cut that one in half and see.
I'm gonna cut this guy.
So they can see the seeds. Because you have to see
I'm
the
gonna
papaya.
show you the seed. I'm not gonna skin it. This one, there's not a pit, but it's a bunch of seeds. So like a cantaloupe, you can cut a papaya right in half and you can scoop out the seeds. Okay? And again, you know it's ready when you have the flesh. The flesh is kind of softer. Okay, I'm gonna clean this up. I have some, I'm gonna cut a piece of this for you guys, just so you can see. If you're ever kind of having trouble feeling like you're not safe with your knife, just cut a little top off, get a solid work spit. Don't like let it lay on its round side. Get a flat side, you know, let it rest. I'm just gonna cut this skin off here for a second, just because I didn't peel it first. But you're not gonna waste a lot. I'm always worried about that. You don't wanna cut yourself. If you cut yourself and you ruin all your food, you'll be wasting a lot more. Think of it like that. So I'm gonna cut this in some chunks. I'm gonna throw it right in here. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna back up and put this.
Back up. Okay. So after I do my mango and papaya, and if you don't like the ceviche, it's just a sweet element. If you don't like mango or papaya, you want one of them, you can do that.
You can do tomatoes, you can do red onion, you can do
anything.
Whatever you
do some
want.
of that.
The most important thing is that you cure your fish about 20 minutes beforehand in like some sort of lemon, lime, orange juice, lemon, grapefruit, orange juice, lime, any kind of citrus to let that the citric acid kind of break down the fish.
Show you the avocado. Lime is kind of the standard, so that's why you find it a lot. I'm gonna show you one more trick, and then after I cut this avocado, I'm gonna add my remaining ingredients. But I want to show you. Can you grab that? I want to show them how to cut an avocado. Avocados, a lot of people know, right? There's a pit. You all know the pit's in the middle, right?
Yeah.
You take your knife, you go directly around, right?
It's very scary.
I feel like this has become standard. You have your pit in there, you get it, you take your pit out, you twist, you throw your pit away. You got it.
And if you don't want to throw your knife in there, you can just push it out from the backside too.
Depending how ripe, that'll work too. But okay, so a lot of people, I do this when I make guacamole all the time. You just put your knife in it, you make your little cuts, you scoop it out, you're good. When you work in a restaurant or you want something to look nicer, you don't do that. So what you're gonna do is, I gotta see this. Gotta go down a little bit. So I'm gonna cut this in half. And forgive me if you know this, but I think it's pretty cool. If you take the pit and you cut it and it's ripe enough, you can peel your avocado like this. And it'll kind of come right off. So you have a really smooth avocado. So when you're getting a salad and they have really nice fans and you're like, oh, that's really pretty. My avocado doesn't look like that. It's because, they're peeling the skin and not just scooping it out. And you're having some slices like that. So I'm gonna use that technique. Instead of just scooping it out into chunks, I want it to be a little bit cleaner. I'm gonna chop it in chunks like that. And those are the first kind of 3 fruit ingredients that we're gonna use. I'm gonna cut this other half of this avocado.
I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, we're good.
Does everybody have any questions?
No? All right. The last 2 ingredients that I'm gonna put in here, aside from my seasoning, is I have an onion. I've got 1/4 of an onion here. I'm gonna put some cilantro and optional, some jalapenos. Now, when Wes muddled his jalapenos, he left the seeds, he wanted to muddle it, or if you're doing the simple syrup, leave those seeds in, they'll infuse to give you spice. if you're eating it. Jalapenos are not actually that spicy. They give a nice addition of flavor if you remove the seeds. The seeds are the only part of a jalapeno that is spicy. It's not like a habanero, which I think I grabbed one. Did I grab one? Grab a whole thing. It's not like a habanero where it's spicy regardless. This is a habanero. They're usually next.
You got it?
Yeah, they're usually next to the jalapenos. If you like spice, go with this. If you want a little bit of spice for flavor, go with the jalapeno. To get the spice out, you're just gonna remove the seeds. So you kind of cut it in half, scrape the seeds out, and then you could enjoy it. So I have some, I'm gonna do some diced onion. When you're dicing an onion, wherever the root is, you wanna keep intact. It'll keep your onion intact. So you can, then after you do your slices, turn it around and get some kind of dices without your whole onion moving and kind of falling apart on you.
You get a uniform kind of small dice.
So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna take the cilantro. Like all herbs like this, cilantro, Italian parsley, curly parsley, this is kind of my mom. I just bunch it up, put it together, and just kind of hold it, run your knife.
There's all kinds of terms.
You know, you could get a scissor too. That works. I get the scissors sometimes if you don't, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I got my fruit element. I got the mango and papaya. I got my avocado. I got my herb, the cilantro, and I have some onion for really some texture. And onion gives a little bit of spice. I want it spicier. I'm gonna add some jalapeno. And I am going to add, I'm gonna put hot sauce last. What am I gonna add? I'm gonna do lime. I need lime juice. I'm gonna put about, so in this I did about a quarter of a mango, probably an eighth of a papaya because they're pretty big. I did a half of a mango, a quarter of an onion, and then a handful of cilantro. I'm gonna do about a quarter of a cup of lime.
Go ahead, Karen, do you have a question? Unmute yourself.
Oh, no, she's good. Okay, and then I'm going to add my fish now to this, which is super okay now. I'm ready to go. And I'm gonna do the snapper, and then we're gonna do the exact same thing with the shrimp, but we'll probably do that later for dinner. It's gonna be the same thing though.
You can do shrimp and snapper. You can
do it together.
Black bass and snapper. You can use scallops. Yeah. You can use bay shrimp. You can use baby octopus, calamari.
Really?
You can cure any fish.
Citrus cures all of that fish.
As long as you taste it first. Just make sure you taste it and it's the flavor you want before you throw it in a dish. You need to add salt, add salt. You need to add cilantro, lime, etc., etc.
So salt is going to be kind of the last thing. Salt actually breaks down some fish. So I'm probably going to do about a teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to put black pepper on this, even though I just, in my mind, went to go reach for it because there's not. I'm going to do a dash of hot sauce. We like Cholula. I'm going to do the traditional original here. I'm going to do 4 dashes of this. It's this hot sauce. It gives you heat, but it gives you some vinegar element that I like. And then I'm gonna put some olive oil, but I'm not gonna do it yet. I'm gonna mix this all up. Let me come and show you guys. Kind of what we're working with here. Everything is just kind of mixed together, right? Now, if you have your boss over and you want it to be fancy, you put it in a glass, right? And you see how much is in here? We just did one fillet of snapper, right? Make sure you get every element. It's all similar in bite size. And you need something to eat it with. It's like sauce that you need bread with, right? I am doing plantain chips. Give me that green banana. I actually fried this plantain. Does anybody know what a plantain is? Has anybody ever eaten a plantain? All right, you don't gotta talk, just raise your hand. All right.
Yes.
Okay, this is a plantain. For those who didn't answer, so it said no. A plantain is a green banana. In Whole Foods, I find them next to the bananas, the mangoes, pineapples. It's
My favorite.
Tropical. It's different from the yellow banana, which is a maduros, which is sweeter. These you cut and you fry. Does anybody know how to cut this thing? Okay, Wes, bring on the computer. Let me show them how to cut this.
All right.
Bring it on over. When I cook this, you fry it in oil, like you're frying a French fry, but it depends how you want to cut it. Okay. I mean, it depends how thick it is. So for this, you cut off the end of both. After you cut off the end, you take your knife, you're going to score it all the way down.
Danger.
Oh, danger. I do 3.
Always cut towards you.
Okay. You try to get it just through the skin, not too much on the banana. And what you're going to do is you go to one of the cut ends, you put your finger, you break it. And what you do is you run your finger all the way through, all the way up to the banana. And it peels. Oh, sorry. It peels like that. There you go, yeah. Okay, same thing. Maybe this one will show you easier. You run your finger all the way up the cut piece and it comes off. Same thing. Cut piece, run your finger all the way through, it pops off. Now, when you cut these, you could use a mandolin and cut it really thin. I cut mine 2 ways. I did use a mandolin, but you can use a knife. You can cut them in chips. You can slice them in really long strips, the super fancy way. Or you could just buy a bag for $1 at the bodega, because that's usually what, we do on the go. And that's your garnish. Some chips in here. Super fancy way is this way. Probably pay about $25 for this at a restaurant. Hold on a second. This is your fancy way. Oh, there's a chip. And then your not so fancy way is in a bowl with just a bunch of chips on the side. And that's what you got.
And this is a mandolin. It's something you can buy at a restaurant supply place. It's basically just a really sharp blade, so you can slice things very thin and very uniform.
I would say that if you have not used the mandolin and you want to buy one, if you've seen someone use it and you're curious about it, they sell them with safeties. So they kind of look like little round knobs that you put your food in, and instead of, as chefs, using the back of your hand to push it through and risking your hand, you just hold the safety and you push the safety through, so you're not worried about your fingertips or the palm of your hand.
Yeah, because it'll cut you bad.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's it.
What about all that?
I can't hear you. Go.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I've had ceviche in Puerto Rico quite a few times. Where's it more popular, in Puerto Rico or the Jamaican places like that?
I think
originally it's a Peruvian dish, so it's South America, Peru, Ecuador. There's kind of a
it's
an argument between who actually invented it, and it kind of migrated all the way up to Mexico, through to east of Puerto Rico to Jamaica. It just became, it's a great dish, so everybody kind of adapted it.
Yeah, so as Wes just said, it's from Peru originally, meant to be eaten as an appetizer. And as mentioned before, the elements that make a ceviche is a cured fish, your citrus, your sweetness, which is from your fruit, and your spice. So I can say that you mentioned Jamaica. I worked at a Jamaican restaurant. I opened up one in the city for some time, and we did ceviche on the menu all the time. So instead of using a Mexican hot sauce, we used a pica pepper sauce, which is, a Scotch made from a Scotch bonnet from Jamaica. We also used mangoes that were popular in Jamaican cuisine. So I would say that the preparation is similar in terms of what is needed to qualify for a ceviche, but the differences that you see in the dish usually are in the fruit element from what is grown in the country, and sometimes in the popular pepper for your spice element.
How long does it last in the refrigerator?
Your ceviche is not going to last in the refrigerator. So this is why I did this. This will last in your refrigerator. If you make your own fresh salsa, which now it's growing season, if you have some fruit in your garden, or if you find some and you want to save it, you can make a fruit salsa that will last for probably a week before it starts to not get bad. I would say if you're doing it that far in advance, don't put onion, because onions will oxidize before your fruit. And you'll get that funky flavor that if you leave a cut onion in your refrigerator, you'll smell. And then the other thing is your fruit will not go bad, but it will start to become mushy, just like any other fruit, like apples or, cantaloupe, if it's cut and left in your refrigerator too long. So that's kind of what will happen. But this is definitely something that will be made in advance. The second that you put citrus on a raw fish, it will start to cure immediately. So you have 20 minutes so you can start to eat it. I would not let your fish cure more than an hour. If you look into some curing, if you do your own research on curing, there are some cures that you can have last for longer, but those cures do not involve citrus. Those cures are what you will find with sugar, which is what smoked salmon, gravlax, your bagels and lox, that is a cured fish that does not have citrus on it. The component is sugar. So that's next time. We'll do that next time.
Yeah, I've got a great recipe with you.
Yeah.
Is the lime juice fresh that you used, or is it bottled?
Fresh. So we like fresh lime juice. I think that if you're mixing it in large quantities, it's sometimes hard to tell the difference. But for something like this, I would go with fresh. With time, that stuff, it needs to be refrigerated for a reason, whereas your lemons and limes don't need to be refrigerated. It will oxidize with time, so it will change the component.
Trader Joe's has a really good lime juice in a bottle. It's in a yellow bottle. I think it's key lime juice.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I wouldn't, even fresh lime, you have about a day. The next day, that lime juice is going to be oxidized. It's not going to taste the same. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to give you what you want.
Yeah, in restaurants, that's just kind of your daily prep. You could do your simple syrups. You can do your fruit purees.
That all keeps.
In advance, but your citrus you have to do every day if it's fresh. And and next time you're at the grocery store, look at the back of those bottles. I'm sure those ingredients are not just lime. There has to be something else to keep it preserved, just like the coconut water that I was kind of telling you about. Before I go, Wes and I were talking about something. It was kind of too much to do, and if we were doing it outside, we wanted to. Wes, more so than me, really enjoys a blended margarita as summer's coming up. So there's actually a different, do you want to say something about that? I'm going to give it over to the blended margarita.
All right, so if you want to blend your margarita, you want to add strawberries, you want to add peaches, you want to add whatever fruit or puree in order to have like a nice, really cool, refreshing margarita. There's only one tip. The recipe is the same. What you need to make sure of is what we call wash level. Wash level is where the ice and liquid meet. If you have half ice and 2/3, or like say you have a third ice and you have 2/3 liquid, that's gonna blend up and it's gonna be really, really liquidy. It's not gonna be that margarita machine like slushy is what you're looking for. You need to have equal amounts, 1-to-1 ice to liquid ratio, and the line of water or liquid that goes to your ice in your glass or in your blender needs to be equal. So it's called wash level. So as long as you have that, and you have more ice kind of cresting over where your liquid is and it's full, and you blend that, you can blend that for 5 minutes. And the more you blend it, that ice and that liquid is gonna keep thickening up. When you blend cocktails, you blend margaritas, you blend pina coladas, as long as you're not adding some sort of cream, it will stay cold and stay as like a slushy. As soon as you start blending milks and creams, like you're doing a pink squirrel or grasshopper, then you have to limit the amount of time you're actually turning your blender on.
Or pina colada, the coconut milk, right?
No, it's coconut milk doesn't act like regular dairy.
No.
Yes and no, but what was I saying? Yeah, so you blend like grasshopper or something with heavy cream or milk, it's going to get thinner the longer you blend it because you're actually gonna have that ice turn into water and it's just gonna dilute your whole cocktail. But with ice and water-based cocktails, when you blend that, it'll thicken up nice and it'll preserve. You can even refresh it. Say you have a pitcher of margaritas and it's separated and you have liquid now and you have ice. You can throw more ice in there, blend it, add a little more tequila, and as long as your wash level is equal, you're gonna refresh that cocktail. Uh-oh, got a visitor.
So this is my son, another casual part of the party. Say hi.
Hi. I couldn't hold him anymore to come up and say hi.
Hey, Wesley.
No.
Say hi to Nona.
With M&Ms.
So the funny thing about the ice is Wes always told me, you need more ice. And I was like, that makes no sense. Ice makes things watery. What are you talking about? But it's the opposite. That ice creates that slushy, it makes that binder frothiness. So I remember that when I'm like, don't put too much ice.
Put too much ice.
Yes, or equal amounts for that wash level.
But if you're gonna err on the side of more.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
I think that's all we have. Does anybody want to add or share?
Is there anything that's confusing or anything you want to know more about?
Thank you. It was awesome.
Our pleasure.
It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
And the ceviche.
Thank you.
Very good.
Try the ceviche. Hopefully next year we can have a single
Gonna make it.
party outside, you know.
Yeah.
It was wonderful waiting for you to come and make my special margarita.
Okay.
That's my drink of choice.
Yeah, if anybody needs a recipe, definitely let us know. If you don't have our direct contact, which I think you do, you can always go to the library. The library is, I hope, starting to create. They started a cookbook group last month that you can find on the website. So we're trying to develop our food programs, our library. I'm sure we'll add this to the collection. I'm sure we'll love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts, send it over. We're in Ridgefield now, which is just right next to Northtown. So we are an inherently fresh food community. And we always like adding to the collection. And if we do anything in the chair, would be wonderful.
Great job, guys.
Great
Thank
job.
you both. It was so fun. Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Miss you both so much. Miss you.
Guys.
Bye, Angelo. Bye, Barbie.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Nice job.
Great job. Awesome.
Let's have a margarita party.
Yes, let's do it. I'll be there in 5 seconds. What does it take me, an hour to get there?
Only an hour and a half.
I'll be there. Give me the date and I'll be there.
Okay.
Love you both. Miss you so much.
Love you too.
Bye.
Thank you for
Love
supporting.
you. Bye, Kat.
Anytime. I'll give my donation. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.